From Kern Government Television, welcome to this week's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting, originating from the County Administrative Center located at 1115 Truxtun Avenue, Bakersfield, California. Kern County's vision is to create and maintain a customer-centered county government designed to garner the confidence, support, and trust of the people we serve. Today's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting will convene momentarily.
All it means is we're getting older, Kathy. That's what's really just horrible.
Board to reconvene. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Supervisor Peters. Supervisor Scribner.
Here.
Supervisor Maggard.
Here.
Supervisor Couch.
Here.
Supervisor Perez.
Here.
Thank you. Good morning and welcome to the Tuesday, February 8th, 2022, 9 a.m. meeting of the Board of Supervisors. We will begin today's meeting with the flag salute, and that's going to be led by Supervisor Perez. So after the flag salute, please remain standing for a moment of prayer, silence, or meditation, whichever you prefer.
Please stand. Salute. Pledge.
Thank you. Please be seated. Okay, next we're going to have our Pet of the Week segment, and so we're going to call on Nick Cullen, the Director of Animal Services Department, to introduce our Pet of the Week. Good morning, Nick. Who do we have with us today?
Can't hear you very well, Nick.
Now?
Got it.
This little fur ball that's sticking her tongue out at everybody. This is Cinder. The staff named her Cinderella, and I just shortened it to Cinder. But she's an older gal. She's about 6 years old. She's a terrier mix. She's got a lot of hair. She probably needs a grooming. She just came to us a couple days ago. But she's going to be available for adoption on Thursday, and she's just the sweetest little thing in the world.
Well, it's great to meet you, Cinder, and Nick, thank you so much for introducing her, and we'll hope that she gets adopted today.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We're going to begin by considering the consent agenda. And for all of you that would like to follow along with the agendas, they are located on the tables near the doors for anyone wishing to grab one of those. And all items listed with a CA above the item are considered to be routine and non-controversial by county staff. Consent items will be considered first and may be approved by one motion. If a member of the audience wishes to comment or ask questions regarding an item on the agenda, they may do so prior to the vote being taken. A member of the board may remove an item from the consent agenda, and it will be considered in listed sequence with an opportunity for any member of the public to address the board concerning the item before action is taken. A member of the public may also comment on any closed session item, and so I'll read those items down. Starting on page 2, items 1 as well as 5 through 8 are on consent. On page 3, items 11 through 17 are on consent. On page 4, items 18 through 24 are on consent. On page 5, items 25 through 31 are on consent. On page 6, items 32 through 38 are all on consent. And finally, on page 7, we have items 39 and 40 that are on consent. And I'm going to read something on item number 21. I will abstain from the following consent agenda items due to the following conflicts. And this is item 21, and it's due to a potential source of income to my staff. And so, Madam Clerk, please record my abstention on this item, even though I will vote on the motion to approve the consent calendar. Now, I will ask if there's any members of the audience that would like to make any comments on the consent agenda. Okay, seeing none, I'll then return to the board and ask if any board members would like to pull an item, or otherwise I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Motion on consent.
Second.
Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved. 4 ayes, 1 absent. Supervisor Peters.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll return to page 2 on our agenda, and this is a proclamation for February 2022 as Safely Surrendered Baby Awareness Month in Kern County, and Supervisor Couch will make this presentation.
Motion on the proclamation.
Second.
Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved, 4 ayes, 1 absent. Supervisor Peters.
Good morning, Board, Mr. Chairman, board members, and staff. This is an honor for me to do this. It's a little bittersweet because this is the last one we're going to get to present to her, to Dina, because she's retiring soon. So congratulations on that. We'll have more to say about that later, by the way. I'm just going to read the proclamation and hand it over to Dina, but I want to say this is a pretty amazing program. This is the Safely Surrendered Baby, what is this, month? Yes. Safely Surrendered Baby Awareness Month in Kern County. That's what we're talking about. This started in 2006, and since 2006, there have been 90 babies that have been surrendered and saved. Last year, there were 6 alone, which means a mother walked into either a fire station or a hospital, those are the places you can go, and gave up her baby, but that child is still with us today. And that's a pretty unique program, but it's just to think about what that mother had to go through to do that is a pretty awesome thing. And we have the star of the show here today. Where's Oliver? We're going to focus on him here in just a couple minutes. He'll be speaking in a moment. So let me just read this and hand it off to Dina. The Board of Supervisors of the County of Kern, State of California, has officially proclaimed February 2022 as Safely Surrendered Baby Awareness Month in Kern County, and this recognition is entered into the board minutes, official board minutes, signed by our Honorable Chair, Zach Scrivener. It's dated today, February 8th, and I'll just hand it up to our Department of Human Services Department Head, Dina Murphy.
Thank you so much.
You bet.
Thank you so much, Supervisor Couch. Bring this down to my level. Chairman and members of the board, this is, I think, one of my very favorite presentations to get to make during the year. And just hot off the press this morning, we have one more save on a child, so 91 in total. And I remember the days when we didn't have an outlet like this for parents, and you think about the difference that those 90 children have made in the lives of families who may not have had a child or added the child to expand their family, and what great love the mother had in releasing that baby, and what incredible opportunities that child has moving forward in life and blessing the family that they went to. I'm so very pleased to be joined by Morgan McEwen and her husband Curtis McNiff, and of course their beautiful little boy Oliver, who has agreed kindly to speak to you in some manner in just a little bit. I'm also joined by a group of folks with a coalition who make this happen. It's not a one-person effort. It's an entire coalition that works constantly year-round to communicate, outreach, community awareness, etc. Always supported by Roland Meyer, our first executive director of First Five, and Roland is behind me, and he has funded the campaign throughout the year, year after year. Also Diana Navarro from First Five, Angela Bevinis from Kern County Public Health, Maria Bermudez from Kern County Department of Human Services, and also from Human Services, Jana Slagle. If you'd wave Jana, she coordinates all of the activities related to the outreach. And Labrell Roberts, Eric from Human Services, Aaron Rogers, Madison Ogden, and Norma Rhodes from from Bakersfield College, and Norma's actually from Koinonia. In addition, I think that we have some representatives from the hospitals. I'll read that off in a moment, in the fire department, because you see quite a large group here today. And as you can see from this, we're not alone again in providing these services. The law, the Safely Surrender Baby law, allows for a mother to relinquish her child at birth, and they have up to 14 days to change their mind and come back. There's no blame, no shame, there's no information given about the baby's background. Family members, they're strictly identified by a number that's assigned to the baby and the mother, and that's the only communication that takes place. As Supervisor Couch said, the child can be relinquished at a hospital or at a fire department. But it just gives women an opportunity who are in crisis and may realize that they wouldn't be able to take care of the baby, not to abandon them. And just a month ago in New Mexico, you probably saw the news article widely publicized about the baby being abandoned in a dumpster. And it's just a realization that our work isn't done and that we have to continue to reach out to folks and let women know that they have an option. And what a generous choice to make. You know, when we have 6 babies this year alone and 91 in total in Kern County, it's just, it's been an incredible effort and an honor to be a part of from the ground floor. On our coalition, we also have, in addition to Department of Human Services Communication Division, we have Adventist Health Hospital, Bakersfield, in Bakersfield, Tehachapi, and Delano Dignity Health, Mercy and Memorial, Kern Medical, Ridgecrest Regional, and Kern Valley Healthcare. Other partners include the Bakersfield Fire Department, Public Health, Clinica Sierra Vista, Bakersfield Pregnancy Center, Kern County Civil Rights to Life, and Koinonia Family Services. Extensive tentacles to get out and try to assist. And again, First Five has always backed us financially, and Kern Health Systems has afforded us the opportunity to do an entire bumper sticker campaign. So with that, I think that I'm going to, at this time, turn it over to Morgan McEwen and her husband, Curtis McNiff, and our little baby Oliver. So if the two of you would come up and tell your story, and really, truly, we might be able to let him talk into the microphone.
It's almost nap time, so bear
Almost.
with us. Good morning, members of the board. My name is Morgan McEwen. This is my husband, Curtis Niffen, and this tiny man of the hour is Oliver. I am sure that you guys have heard all the statistics regarding the safe surrender law, so I'll just take a minute just to tell you how it has directly impacted my family. In 2016, we were a small family with 2 biological children, and we felt like something was missing. So we reached out to the Kern County Human Services and signed up to be a resource family in hopes of adopting a child. In 2019, we were placed with a beautiful and wild baby girl, and we thought that was the end of our journey. In March of 2020, we got a phone call from Kern County social worker for a safely surrendered baby boy, only 4 hours old, and we just knew that we had to have him. So we not so patiently waited for the hospital to call that he was ready for pickup, and we got to meet baby boy Doe. Oop, let me just wipe that. There you go, Daddy. We later found out that he was actually born in the ambulance on the way to the hospital with paramedics from the Hall ambulance. And the mother knew that she was gonna safely surrender him. And the hospital staff and the paramedics knew that he was a safe surrender, and no questions asked, they just took care of his biological mother and him. Just do this, let's see. We applaud the courage of our child's birth mother and any mother who has safely surrendered a baby in this method. It is a selfless act to follow through with birthing a child and surrendering them, allowing them the chance at having a full and wonderful life. I look at this face every day, and I'm so thankful that his biological mother knew that she could safely surrender him and bless a family in the same process. So I do think about the other children who maybe weren't as lucky as Oliver and wondered what their lives would have been like if their mother had known about safe surrender. So that's why we feel it is so important to make sure that we spread the awareness that they have a choice and an option to safely surrender their child. Thank you for this opportunity and hearing Oliver's story.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, we'll move on now to item number 3. This is to proclaim February 7th through the 11th, 2022 as Grand Jury Public Awareness Week in Kern County, and Supervisor Maggard will make this presentation. We'll give Supervisor Couch a moment to get up here and give a vote.
Motion to approve the proclamation?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved, 4 ayes, 1 absent. Supervisor Peters.
Mr. Chairman, may I proceed with the presentation? I apologize to the grand jury if I misunderstood the manner in which we're supposed to do this morning, so we are socially distanced, but we are joined this morning by many members of the grand jury and by the foreman, Mr. Michael Bryant. Mr. Bryant, can you please come up to the microphone? Mr. Bryant is the foreman of the 2021-2022 Kern County Grand Jury, and we're happy to have you and your colleagues with us this morning. Infused into our democracy from the very outset has been accountability, and the executive, legislative, and judicial branch hold each other accountable on the federal level. On the local level, the grand jury plays that role to a large extent. By investigating constituent or citizen complaints, by holding government accountable for its actions and expecting it and verifying that it will be transparent in its activity and movement. And we are blessed to have a number of volunteers every year step forward to say that they will serve on the grand jury. And I'll let Mr. Bryant say more about that. But we are going to celebrate the grand jury with proclaiming February 7 through 11 as Grand Jury Awareness Week in Kern County. And I want to thank you for your service and for your leadership, and look forward to what you might be able to tell us about what's going to happen during this week and your activities on the grand jury.
Thank you, Supervisor Maggard. Chair Scrivener and members of the Board of Supervisors, the grand jury members would like to thank you for the recognition of Grand Jury Awareness Week and the proclamation upon the organization. The first Kern County Grand Jury was appointed by the Kern County Board of Supervisors in 1866. Each year, 19 volunteer members are impaneled from the community to serve as the Kern County Grand Jury. The grand jury is a diverse group with a wide range of backgrounds and interests. To be eligible to be a grand jury, you must be a citizen of the United States, at least 18 years old, and a resident of Kern County for the past 12 months. A juror can serve up to 2 years before being dismissed. Grand jurors make a commitment to serve a minimum of 20 hours a week, working 5 hours per day, 4 days a week. The grand jurors receive a daily stipend of $30 per day and are reimbursed for their personal vehicle usage at the prevailing rate per mile. All grand jurors are sworn to secrecy and complete confidentiality as it pertains to complaints, witnesses, or the content of investigations. This ensures the protection and privacy of anyone coming before the jury. No confidential information leaves the grand jury chambers. The grand jury's mission is to be the watchdog for the public. The grand jury objectively investigates, audits, or examines all aspects of Kern County government, special districts, and cities to ensure that these bodies are effectively governed and that public monies are being handled prudently in the best interest of the public. Any citizen, including city, county officials, and employees, may submit a signed complaint to the grand jury. All citizen complaints are received and reviewed by the jury. All complaints are acknowledged and remain confidential. Complainants are sent letters to communicate the action taken by the grand jury. The grand jury also hears criminal indictments brought before the district attorney's office for a criminal offense. At the end of the year in June, the grand jury issues a final report to the presiding judge. This report consolidates the investigative reports prepared and released throughout the year by the committee. And I want to thank these members of the grand jury here, because without all of us, we're all basically, I just get to be the spokesperson, but we're all the same members, and it's an honor for all of us to serve, and thank you for the proclamation. Thank you.
Mr. Bryant, would you mind if we had all the members of the grand jury rise so we can salute them? We thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bryan, and to all of the members. All right, next on our agenda is item 4. This is a request of Lauren Skidmore, Chief Executive Officer of the Bakersfield Homeless Center, to address the board and provide a yearly review for the period January through December 2021, highlighting key developments and findings concerning homelessness in Kern County. Good morning.
Good morning. Lauren Skidmore, CEO of the Bakersfield Homeless Center and Alliance Against Family Violence and Sexual Assault. Thank you, Chairman Scrivener, members of the board, and county administrative staff for letting me provide you with an update on specifically the Bakersfield Homeless Center 2021 data and activities coming in 2022. I want to quickly acknowledge some key members of my team who are behind me. There are 4 amazing ladies that will help answer any questions at the end of my presentation if you have any. As you all know, and as most of Kern County knows, homelessness is the issue, not only in our county, but in the state of California. This issue is affecting everyone. It's a quality of life issue, and it has become a public safety issue. Due to the attention drawn to this matter and the large amount of resources being deployed, I wanted to ensure you knew the difference between all services and populations at our shelter and at our facilities in comparison to others, like the facility you run on M Street. Homelessness on a national scale is increasing. The 2020 HUD point-in-time count showed us over 500,000 individuals across the country. 28% of those are in the state of California. An overwhelming majority of these individuals across the nation are men, 70%. And white people are the largest racial groups within homelessness nationwide. And I will also explain the category of white within race versus ethnicity later on. African Americans are also on the rise across the nation. At the Bakersfield Homeless Center, this is a short list of the major components of what we offer. We are much more than an emergency shelter. When people walk through our doors, we work hard to get them back on their feet and walk alongside them throughout their journey as they establish independence. I want to highlight the aftercare support program. These are our case managers who work with our clients after they have left our emergency shelter and are provided housing by our housing department. These case managers support clients by ensuring bills are paid, their children have Christmas items, they're enrolled in school and attending school, you name it. These case managers provide support for up to 2 years after an individual leaves our shelter. They are the reason that families are not reentering homelessness. It is a huge part of what we do every day. I also want to highlight our jobs development program. Some of you have heard about this. It is across the county, but most well-known across the state highways. These are individuals that are either current or past clients of homeless services across the county, individuals re-entering from incarceration, or others nearby our facility, which are currently employed on our campus. We have over 88 individuals that are employed through our jobs development program. Also, a quick shout out to Supervisor Maggard and Couch for working with us and having crews in your districts on occasional cleanups. Our crews are the ones you see removing trash and debris from downtown Bakersfield state highways and private business sites. And excitingly enough, we are expanding this program. I'm going to dive deep into numbers that I put in our system as of last Friday, February 4th. These are current shelter clients. I mentioned our population is different from other facilities, and that is because we focus on families. As you can see, a vast majority of our current shelter clients are under the age of 18. Correct, mostly children, 0 to 18, yes. We actually have 27 children right now in our facility that are under the age of 5. 47 that are between the ages of 5 and 12, and 15 between the ages of 13 and 17. 185 individuals at our shelter currently. We also have a vast majority of females. We have space for single women that we have also expanded over the last few years, and we have also seen an increase in single fathers seeking shelter. We've had to allocate a special space for them and their families. Current shelter clients based on race. A large majority of our individuals are white. I will note that 47% 41.5% of our shelter clients are Hispanic. HUD separates this out from race and includes it in the ethnicity category, so individuals can deem themselves multiple race or white. So most of the white category is also Hispanic individuals. They make it very confusing for all of us. The next set of data we're going to look at is all of our clients. So that's across a wide range of services we provide, not just in our emergency shelter. This also will include a milestone location, which is where we case manage on site of a housing authority property, where we do supportive services for those clients.
Ms. Skidmore, Supervisor Perez has a question.
Of course.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that, Chair. Sorry to interrupt you.
No problem.
Excellent presentation. So is it your sense then the race thing and the white thing is always tricky?
Yes.
Always on many, many applications. So
Yes.
is it your sense then if you were to walk in, the majority of the people that you would see look Hispanic or Latino?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. Thank you very much.
So across all current clients, across all of our departments, again, we're seeing the same type of numbers. A vast majority of them are under the age of 18, and then you're seeing a large range between 25 and 45 years old. Again, we mostly support females. We are also supporting males across the board on all of our clients, all of our services. And as far as race, again, a large majority are white, which we would consider 41.5% of all of our clients are Hispanic. So a large majority of those that classify as white are Hispanic. We have also seen an increase in the African American category. A large number of those are served outside of our shelter in our supportive services. Yes.
Do you have any sense about an increase in African American population? Do you see something happening there that stands out?
It's happening nationwide, but it's consistent for us in our shelter.
Any sense of any reason, or are you finding any anecdotal evidence or anything that's striking to you?
You know, I don't think there's anything in particular. I think there might be some ethnicity recommendations when it comes to who seeks services and how they seek services. So there might be a more willingness from the Hispanic population to seek services versus others.
Thank you.
We also do have individuals that will classify themselves as disabled. So out of the 608 individuals that have marked a disability or claimed this category on our data sheets, 421 of those have marked disabled. We do know most of those individuals' disabilities, and we support them in their individual manner. This is a look back at January to December of 2021. I did pass out a fancier version for all of you, but wanted to show this on the slides. In 2021, we sheltered 610 individuals. 258 of those were children. We served 1,094 children across all of our services in 2021. We served 109,356 meals. Child care and Champ Camp children, these are either children supported by our child care services on site at the Bakersfield Homeless Center or our after school program, which we call Champ Camp. 114 of those were children that we served. We had 56 new job development crew members in 2021. We had over 3,000 toy donations, family housing placements, 410, and we placed 108 women into housing, single women into housing in 2021. Total individuals served was over 2,000 individuals. I would be diminishing our impact if I did not do a quick overview of Bakersfield Homeless Center's sister agency, the Alliance Against Family Violence and Sexual Assault. This organization supports victims, survivors, and children impacted by domestic violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking. This list is only a portion of our services, and one key element to our work is supporting the county's Family Justice Center. We are also a key component to the new Human Trafficking Task Force. We have 2 domestic violence shelters, one in Bakersfield and one in Delano. We offer emergency support and transitional housing in our locations. Again, we focus on children and families who are affected by this trauma. One key program for children is our Child Abuse Treatment Department, the CHAT program. Here we provide therapy for children who have been victims or witness to domestic violence or sexual assault. The licensed therapists in this program are the real heroes for our agency. The stories they hear, none of us want to even repeat. Our programs here are supportive of anyone that is dealing with domestic violence, sexual assault, intimate partner violence. We help and support teens. We have a prevention and education department that goes out to schools, any businesses or organizations that would like to seek more information about our services or ways to prevent any of these issues. We also provide 24-hour crisis hotline, so anyone can call us at any hour and get support. We also have 24-hour hospital accompaniment to support law enforcement when dealing with sexual assault response. What's coming in 2022, these are some of the key elements I really wanted to share with you all today. Our client numbers are expected to hold or increase. We did see a decrease across the board in 2020 and 2021 due to social distancing, due to current stay-in-place orders and other items, but we are expecting our numbers to increase in 2022. We will focus on mental health, and we will continue our focus on housing, and we are going to enhance our partnerships. One of the things I noticed when I was diving over the numbers is our large amount of Hispanic individuals we serve, and so I've already had a conversation with the Kern County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce to figure out what this could look like as far as a partnership for our future. The most exciting announcement I have is we will be groundbreaking on a new multi-service 340-bed campus this year. This has been in the works for many, many years. Our property currently has been purchased by High Speed Rail. We are on a 4 to 5 year lease, and that lease will be up in 2025. We need to move, and our clients are needing a new and updated venue to support them. On this site, we will expand services. We will have educational entities on site. We will have our daycare on site with larger rooms and more space for more children. We will have expansion of our Champ Camp after-school program, and we will have bedrooms that are a hotel-like feel to where families of large size can have adjoining rooms so they're all connected and together. We will be merging. So as I mentioned, we have 2 nonprofits under our umbrella. The Bakersfield Homeless Center and the Alliance Against Family Violence and Sexual Assault will be merging under one entity. So that way we can cross over into each other's worlds and make sure that our clients are getting support on both sides. And with that merger, there will be a name change. And hopefully we'll be announcing the name in July of this year. And with that, are there any questions? Yes.
Supervisor Perez?
Lauren, I didn't realize there was such distinction between the 2 programs, the homeless side and the sexual assault side.
Yes.
I mean, in what ways can you merge funding lines, or are they just 2 completely separate entities, 2 different boards entirely?
They're the same board of directors, but the funding sources are 2 completely different sources. So a lot of our funding on the Alliance Against Family Violence and Sexual Assault side is Cal OES or CDPH, state funding. A lot of the funding on the Bakersfield Homeless Center side comes from federal funds. HUD is a big contributor. We will be able to merge the organizations together, and that will allow us to have staff be able to cross over and provide support. So one of the things we have constantly been looking for is ways to fund therapists at our Bakersfield Homeless Center site, because we know those clients need extra mental health support. They need just somebody to be able to help heal their trauma that they've been through within the shelter and on the streets. But we can't do that with its current format. Once we merge, we will be able to cross over and provide support for both clients.
Oh, that's exciting. Thank you for your hard work. It's very impressive.
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, Ms. Skidmore, thank you so much for your
Thank you.
presentation.
I have a quick one.
Yes.
What do you need the most right now? Or do you have a list of, whether it's items or donations of anything, cash? You can always use cash, right?
We can always use cash.
But are there items that you need?
Unrestricted funds are always the most helpful. That is when we
Right.
have the most flexibility to put them where the emergency is happening and what's needed. We did just have a fire in our toy storage unit. We are getting a massive amount of support from the public right now. We have KGT lobby opened up. Dignity Health is partnering with us, and we believe we'll be able to redeem all the 2,000 to 3,000 toys lost in that fire. We also have a private donation that's come in support that's going to help us with items we can always use: pillows, towels, blankets, clothing items. We have a donations warehouse on site, so anybody can bring gently used items to our facility, and we distribute that to our members, including furniture, which is always a need because once we house an individual, we want them to go into a home that's fully furnished and ready to go. So refrigerators, mini fridges, microwaves, all of those items we welcome. One of the things we've been in constant conversation about is how to support mothers across this journey. And there is no funding for transportation to and from a job site. There's not funding for moms to ensure their child gets to daycare. And we've looked at funding sources for those items, but it's just difficult. It's not something that is funded by government entities. So we're trying to get creative and figuring out ways to support moms through their journey, to remove all of the barriers they have if they want to go to school, if they want to get a job, if they just want to be in a place that's safe, then we need to make sure we have all of the barriers removed for them.
Thank you for that.
Supervisor Maggard?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Lauren, I used to refer to you as an emerging leader in our community. Well, you have emerged. I appreciate your leadership and your role there, and I thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Supervisor Perez?
Thank you. Well said, Mike. I agree. I'm just incredibly impressed with your performance and your the way in which you're articulating ideas. I think it's very user-friendly, and I've got all these ideas now I want to run past you.
Good, we'd love it.
You have kind of sparked, that we'll get to later. But one thing to think about, I think would be really cool, is in the area where the MLK school is, the STEM school that we've been building out the park and driving economic development there, as you're aware of it. Catty corner from that is the Employers Training Resource, right, which is a county building. We've got probation in there. We've got a whole host of services that are needed in the community. One thing that we've been wanting to do, it's been put off by COVID, unfortunately, was to launch a really aggressive training program there. It's already ETR, right, for mothers in the area or mothers in general. I'm thinking how perfect a shuttle between the homeless shelter and that facility to do two things. One, provide daycare, because we know we had an enormous amount of daycare centers have been shut down during and an incredible amount of them, Lauren, were minority-owned daycare centers, right? That's a side note I get, but it's really sad, right, to see communities of color, right, get to a place of stability in small business, and then we have this tragic thing that occurred and sort of less stability to fall back on, if you will. So, just as a side note and recognizing that's what's happening, right, and how demoralizing that is, we want to launch an aggressive program there coupled with BC, because they can do CTE credit, right? We can work towards certifications on the child development side, but to help to provide child care, right? At the same time as we're teaching mothers and parents, right, to learn the business and get them to a place where they can ultimately have their own child daycare centers while their children are being cared for, and they're learning the process even while their kids are part of that process. That makes sense. It's probably really confusing, sorry, but
no,
I think you get my point.
I do,
I think there's just so much synergy there with closing the skills gap, right? Providing childcare, because it's such a huge need. There's so little of it, and it's so expensive. It ends up being cost prohibitive for people that we know the vast majority of people want to earn their own money and have their own dignity, right? I just so sincerely believe that about just about everybody. So, let's think about that, because that's very exciting. And we're doing a shuttle system where we're linking up some assets in the community that we know are meaningful, both culturally, but have a practical use in closing the skills gap and, lifting the tide, if you will. So that's I'm really excited about your leadership there and thinking about, chess, not checkers,
right.
On getting folks stable and getting them upwardly mobile and feeling like the future is bright, right? Modest prosperity, I think, is certainly upon us. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. We would be open to any partnership. It's definitely a goal of mine is to increase the partnerships for the remaining years. And something to note is we spend a lot of energy and effort on our children, as we should. But what is forgotten is the parent component, because a lot of times is they are strong and dealing with their trauma internally because they need to be strong for their children. But we have to kind of remove that, and we have to figure out how to support them alongside of supporting the children. And that's definitely a goal. And so we would be open to any ideas or partnership. Thank you.
Very good. I don't see any other requests from members of the board, but I will provide an opportunity for any members of the audience to make any comments or ask any questions on this topic? Okay, seeing none, then we'll move on to public presentations. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons to address the board on any matter not on this agenda, but under the jurisdiction of the board. Board members may respond briefly to statements made or questions posed. They may ask a question for clarification, make a referral to staff for factual information, or request staff to report back to the board at a later meeting. And so I'll ask now if we have any members of the public that would like to make a comment or a public presentation, and speakers are limited to 2 minutes. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman and board members and all. I feel like I'm the least likely person to be doing this, but I feel somebody has to do it, so guess who? It ended up being me. I'm doing this because
Would you state your name, please, sir?
Oh, O.C. Crawford. I'm with the True Love Tribe. I'm doing this because I love you all, and I think Kern County has some of the best public figures in the nation. I really think you guys are moral. I may be a little naive, but I think the majority of people are good people. Therefore, I have a prepared statement here. Anyone who still believes in this pandemic is about health is either innocently and unquestionably compliant, but like I said, you're innocent, and that's good. But anyway, being a public official means that you are responsible for the safety and well-being of the people in your city and county. Have any of you thought of having unbiased, peer-reviewed science to examine what's in these jabs? And is it wise to blindly trust the CDC, the WHO, the FDA, etc.? Are they God? Should they have absolute control of what goes on or into our own bodies and into our children's body? It's strange that Big Pharma wanted a 75-year delay before letting us know what's in the jab. You might want to wonder why. It's interesting to note that it's been a little over 75 years since we learned about the Holocaust. The Jewish people and others blindly believed the government officials and willingly boarded the trains to hell. At the Nuremberg trials, the Nazi soldiers claimed they were innocent because they were merely following orders. Nevertheless, they were found guilty and executed. All elected officials, sheriffs, and police officers swear an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, and it is your duty to not carry out unconstitutional mandates and policies issued by corrupt politicians. Local leaders are exempt. Like I say, I believe you all are very good, decent people. I don't want anyone to go to jail or be executed because you're merely following unconstitutional orders and mandates that cause people to die. Who knows what lawsuits will be filed in the near future? So let's play it safe and not carry out tyrannical, dictatorial, and unlawful mandates. Let us only follow the Constitution. We swore an oath to do this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Crawford.
Any questions, comments?
I don't see any. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good day.
It's good to see you.
Do we have any other public speakers? Okay, seeing none, then we'll move on.
Zach.
Supervisor Perez.
Chair, thank you. I'm not sure when the appropriate time to have this conversation is, whether now or under board member announcements or reports, but I did have a meeting in my office last week regarding some pedestrian safety issues that are profound, and if it appears that now it seems like the time to have that conversation, either now or under board member announcements or reports.
That's our next item, so
Great, thank you.
stand by. So we have item number 10, board member announcements or reports. And so I'll begin by, as we always do, by asking Bryn Kerrigan, our Director of Public Health, to come up. It's a request of the ad hoc committee, and then I'll go right to Supervisor Perez.
Thank you.
After Bryn. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm happy to bring your board good news this morning. As it appears, our cases and hospitalizations have peaked from this fourth surge, and we are in the downward trend of disease transmission rates. As of yesterday, our case rate was 81.5. At my presentation to your board 2 weeks ago, it was 178.3. which was the day the cases from the fourth surge peaked in Kern County. During my last presentation, I reported the state's modeling suggested that Kern's peak of COVID-19 patient census in the hospitals would be January 26th, with 337 COVID-19 patients. Our hospitalizations actually peaked on January 25th with 331 COVID-19 patients. As of yesterday, we had 231 hospitalizations and 49 ICU patients. 32.8% of Kern's ICU beds are filled with COVID-positive patients. Kern's ICU capacity is 10.3%, and the San Joaquin Regional ICU capacity is 10%. 21 healthcare staff have been acquired through staffing resource requests to assist with staffing through this fourth surge. We have 3 state-staffed teams in Kern County that continue to maintain expanded regular and ICU hospital bed capacity. This expansion provides 39 additional ICU beds and 33 additional regular beds. We have 3 state staff strike teams consisting of 6 nurses and 6 paramedics on each team assigned to the emergency department in 3 hospitals to assist with offloading patients from ambulances and patient care in the emergency room. Additionally, we have ambulance strike teams consisting of 5 ambulances with 10 crew members to assist with ambulance response to 911 calls, and 10 additional paramedics to increase available service levels in 10 ambulances from basic life support to advanced life support units. As of this week, 1,125,737 doses of the COVID-19 vaccine have been administered to Kern County residents. 54.2% of Kern's 5+ population have been fully vaccinated against COVID-19, and 61.4% of Kern's 5 and older population has at least 1 dose of their 2-dose series and is at least partially vaccinated. 37.3% of our fully vaccinated population is boosted. The FDA's Vaccines and Related Biological Products Advisory Committee is scheduled to meet on February 15th to discuss the request from Pfizer for an emergency use authorization of the COVID-19 vaccine in children aged 6 months to 4 years of age. According to the California Department of Public Health, unvaccinated Californians are 7.5 times more likely to get COVID-19, 14.9 times more likely to be hospitalized with COVID-19, and 30 times more likely to die from COVID-19 than fully vaccinated Californians who have received their booster. Since January 21st, 2021, 80.23% of Kern's cases, 89.47% of our COVID-positive hospitalizations, and 93.19% of our COVID-related deaths have been in those who are unvaccinated. Madam Clerk, if you can switch to the next slide, please.
Can we stop right there for a second?
Yes, sir.
Just when did we start the first slide here? What is the date that you were measuring from?
January 21st, 2021, the date the first Kern County resident could be considered fully vaccinated.
1/20/21.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that. It's not switching. Oh, here we go. Got it. Okay. 6,776 Kern County residents have had 2 or more COVID-19 infections. 3.15% of Kern's population that has had COVID-19 have been reinfected with COVID-19. 0.04% have been hospitalized with their second case of COVID-19, and less than 0.005% of this population has died with a second COVID-19 infection being the contributing cause of death. A review of the average length of stay, median length of stay, and percentage of cases that resulted in hospitalization with each of the 4 surges preliminarily shows the severity of the symptoms appear much lower with this 4th surge than what we saw in previous surges. 0.52% of our 4th surge cases have been hospitalized, and the average length of stay and median length of stay are substantially lower than all 3 of the previous surges. Yesterday, the California Department of Public Health announced the indoor masking mandate will expire on February 15th, 2022, and revert back to the previous masking guidance requiring only unvaccinated individuals to mask in indoor public settings. Additionally, mega event capacity restrictions revert back to pre-surge guidance at 1,000 attendees in an indoor setting and 10,000 attendees in an outdoor setting. Both changes take effect on February 16th. Lastly, we announced a call to action to our community last week, urging our residents to get into overall better health and highlighting public health's healthy initiatives, including Know Your Numbers, Certified Healthy, and Waste Hunger Not Food. More than 50% of our COVID-related deaths in Kern County have obesity and/or diabetes, heart disease, and hypertension as contributing causes of death. For a summary of this initiative, I would like to ask Madam Clerk to play a video created by our countywide communications officer and our talented KGov team.
Kern County Public Health is helping residents get healthy this year through focusing on good nutrition, exercise, and building strong immune systems. We're joined today by Public Health Director Bryn Kerrigan to discuss their department's new campaign, Let's Get Healthy Kern.
Public Health is here to help. We have 3 healthy initiatives that we have that we would like our community to use as tools and resources for them to get an overall better health. The first is our Know Your Numbers program. This is a 6-week program that travels to various locations throughout Kern County. Then we have our Waste Hunger Not Food program. So this program rescues wholesome, healthy foods from locations like schools and restaurants that would otherwise be wasted, and it distributes those in our community free to our residents. And finally, we have our Certified Healthy program. So if you download our Safe Diner app, we have facilities that have met our nutrition criteria that serve healthier foods. So when you are choosing to eat out with your family, we encourage you to find one of those certified healthy restaurants so that you can make healthier dining out choices. There's no better time than now to take advantage of these programs because we're continuing to try to combat the COVID-19 pandemic. What we're seeing is that more than 50% of our deaths have preventable chronic conditions that we can curb and then better our odds against severe illness and death due to COVID-19. So visit our website, kernpublichealth.com. There is a prominent button on our website that talks about this call to action initiative. Click on that button and you'll find all 3 of these programs. Mr. Chairman and members of the board, that completes my presentation. I'm available for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Kerrigan. I'll go to our COVID ad hoc committee member, Supervisor Maggard, and ask if he has any questions or comments, and then I'll ask the rest of the board members.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Kerrigan, I want to thank you for your leadership in this. Please extend our gratitude to your staff. They've been wonderful, and I want to thank the members of the public that are engaged in this. I have some friends in the medical field, and they are exhausted, and just a week or 2 ago were feeling like they were at their very, very maximum limit, and I just admire them for their perseverance. So I want to thank members of the public who are engaged in that. Someday the true heroes of this, when we look back upon it, will be the doctors and nurses, particularly the nurses who had to do things they never imagined they'd be called to do. So I want to thank them. Just one question this morning. Is there any, as you look on the screen of those that are trying to forecast where this is going, is a 5th surge on the horizon yet, or do you have any expectation about that? Thank you.
Supervisor Maggard, through the chair, we continuously look at the state's modeling, and currently it does not predict a 5th surge at this time in the near future.
Praise God, that is good news. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor. And I'll ask if there are any members of the board that have any announcements or reports. Supervisor Perez.
I just wanted to ask if you thought there was...
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Are we still, I'm sorry, Zach, are we still on the COVID issue?
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask if you thought, what more could we be doing in leadership to support where you are? Obviously, these are very complicated issues and they have all kinds of implications, right? And I'm just so pleased and so happy to see the kind of leadership that you're providing right now. And I thank you for that because this is a great community and we all want to get better and we all want to move on. I know you know that. So where, do you see, how can we be more helpful?
Supervisor Perez, through the chair, I think just pointing members of our community to those tools and resources that were discussed in the video. We have a lot of programs at Kern County Public Health and many other county departments that are here to help our community just get an overall better place so that we are ready to combat any disease that comes our way, another COVID surge, any other chronic disease. We are here to help, so pointing them in our direction so that they can take advantage of those tools and resources is, I think, the direction we need to move in at this point.
Got it. We will certainly be more prepared for whatever life brings, and we know it's unpredictable, but to some degree, you know, we can be prepared for what are human realities in a, you know, increasingly complicated global economy, right? Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Supervisor Couch.
Thank you. Even though we're on the downslide on this, if somebody gets it and they've got these comorbidities, it can be serious for them, right? So let's use me as a test case. Let's say I get it and I have to go to the hospital. How are they going to treat me? Do we have adequate therapeutics, and what are those that we have, and what don't we have?
Supervisor Couch, through the chair, the therapeutics is the section that continues to change at a rapid pace. There are multiple therapeutics that actually came on the market during this fourth surge. There are now antivirals where you could be treated outside of the hospital with a prescription from your healthcare provider. There's Evusheld, so that's a pre-exposure prophylaxis that's available on the market, so people that have compromised immune systems can access that therapeutic before they're exposed to COVID-19 and get that treatment. And then there's remdesivir and sotrovimab that are both available to be treated in either an inpatient or an outpatient setting so that you could be treated for COVID-19, and that typically reduces your symptoms.
You won't get hydroxychloroquine?
Supervisor Couch, through the chair, that's not currently a recommended treatment methodology.
Because it doesn't have it's been around for years, but it doesn't have the emergency use authorization. Is that the reason and what's the other one? I forgot the name of it.
Ivermectin.
Ivermectin.
That's correct.
Those will not be administered to you in the hospital. Is that right?
Those are not recommended treatment methodologies. I can't say they won't be used on you in a hospital. It would just depend on your physician and the decision that physician makes. It's a clinical decision.
That's what I'm interested in. It doesn't have the EUA, but the physician does have the latitude to prescribe it?
They could, and it's a clinical decision that physician would have to make.
Are there consequences to the physician for doing that? I've heard that.
Supervisor Couch, through the chair, that I do not know.
Can you find that out? I don't know how you find it out. And what are those consequences and who comes down on them?
Sure.
I'm curious. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Kerrigan, appreciate your report. Okay, now I'll turn to Supervisor Perez for her announcement or report.
Thank you very much. I apologize. I have terrible allergies. Forgive me. I want to welcome some new friends here and ask you to come down to the podium. I want to thank you for your courage and for your insistence on living out the incredible legacy of your children, your sons, who I could feel last week you have still such profound, palpable love for.
Yes, they do.
It was really quite an experience for me, and I appreciate you so much. Your willingness to share your vulnerability and the horror of what you have experienced and what you're living with right now. Really, hats off to you. You're stronger than me. To my colleagues, I know you know some of this. I've been in communications with our planning department, and as well as my colleague Supervisor Mike Maggard. We have a long history of looking at pedestrian safety issues very seriously, and I want to discuss some of that with him this morning, as we've been great partners in that. Angel Berriman, a beautiful young man.
Yes, he is.
Killed in a hit and run on Niles 2 weeks ago. His mother is Jasmine Burleson. Went 11 minutes there without help. 11 minutes. Angel's birthday is tomorrow, February 9th. God bless you, Mom, for being here.
Thank you.
Alejandro Vargas was killed in an accident on Niles in 2019. His mother is Josefina Rosell. Josefina is leading the petition to bring sidewalks, streetlights, and education to pedestrian safety. You are two of the most amazing women I've ever met. I'd love for you to share with my colleagues a little bit of your heart. This is not a time for it. We don't have a ton of time. I know you appreciate that reality. But certainly, I know my colleagues are curious about what you have to say, and I know they'll be moved by what you have to say. So,
well, I'm Josefina. I go by Josie. I'm Alejandro Vargas' mom. 2019, Alejandro with a group of friends was going to go to the movies, and my son was crossing the street when a truck was driving and struck my son and ended up killing him. There on Niles, there is not enough crosswalk. There is a crosswalk, but there is not something for the kids to press the button so cars could be aware that they're crossing the street. There is not a cross sidewalk where her son was going to school early in the morning. There's not enough lighting for the vehicles to see that these kids are walking down the street going to school. There is 6 schools in that area. Kids go through there every day to go to school. I live in that area right on Niles and Park Drive. There's times I have to wait at least 10 minutes for a car to slow down to let these kids cross. There's times I'll stop in the middle of the road to make the car stop so the kids go cross and go to high school to Foothill. I did start a petition. I've been fighting for the last 3 years. Our doors finally opened. Unfortunately, had to go through another passing of someone for my doors to open. I did start the petition. So far, it's going viral. It was on the news this last night, I believe, on Channel 17. I sent them an email letting them know. I wasn't expecting it to be on the news. I was barely informed this morning. They're like, hey, you see? And I'm like, no. I'm like, what? And so that's our goal. We don't want another mother to go through our pain and suffering because our kids are trying to go to school or trying to just cross Niles Street to either get the bus or just to go to the store or even just to, sorry. I just think something needs to be done, and we don't need another tragedy for it to get done. 2 lives is good enough, a 13-year-old and a 16-year-old.
Yeah, like it was said, my son would have been 17 tomorrow. We had plans. He had plans to go skating, to go to Skateland with a bunch of his friends, to go to Six Flags, Magic Mountain with us. And we won't, we'll get to do those things, but without my son now. Any experiences that we have as a family, as his friend group, will all have to be done with only pictures or memories of him. My son was going to Foothill to catch the bus to C-Tech, where he was taking extra classes to become a video game developer, and where he listened to what I would tell him all the time, which was to please cross the street at the light. So he crossed the street at the light on Fairfax and Niles. So he was on the right side of the street that he needed to be on, but there's no sidewalks on that side of the street coming up to Park Drive where Foothill is at. And he was hit from behind by a vehicle. That vehicle in turn left him in the middle of the street. He was there for 11 minutes before a bus driver found him. Didn't realize it was a body at first. He just noticed that something was wrong and decided to turn his bus around and found my son in the middle of the street. Him and another driver put their jackets over my son to keep him warm and talk to him until paramedics got there. But by the time he got to the hospital, it was too late for them to help him. There was already too much damage, and he had already been laying there for too long. So I just want the routes to those schools to be safe for these kids. There should be no reason why these kids have to walk in the street because there's no sidewalks. There's a large open space where there's no lights, there's no street lights, there's nothing. Even when my family and I were at my son's like makeshift vigil, there were trucks racing each other down the street, where they would start at one light that's at, I think, Morning Drive. They literally set like 3 honks and took off and raced each other down the street as we're standing at his vigil.
The same happened to me in 2019 with my son's vigil. Highway Patrol had to actually come out and escort because I had over 300 people at my son's vigil on Niles and Park Drive. And Highway Patrol had to come out and watch, because even though they see all of us out there, they don't slow down. They just keep on driving, and Highway Patrol had to turn on their lights to warn them, hey, we're here. You're gonna, like, you guys have to slow down. And it's just really, really bad. And like she said, it's not enough lighting. These kids, like her son, goes to school early in the morning, and vehicles don't see them. And it took 11 minutes just for one car, because of their lights, see her son on the ground. Mine was bright daylight. So my son was still laying on the ground. The people pulled over to help him. By the time fire departments got there, I was on the scene before fire department ambulance. So I was seeing my son laying on the ground fighting for his life before any paramedics got there. Fire department is just around the corner. To me, it felt like hours for them to get there. My understanding, it took them 10 to 15 minutes to get to the scene when they're just literally around the corner. It's just something that needs to be addressed, and for our children's sake.
Thank you so much for your incredible articulation of the issues and ways and things for us to think about up here as your government. I really appreciate you. I wanted you to come here and help us understand better, one, the personal loss that you are suffering, and what it is so compelling, but also to connect with your government and say, what can we do moving forward? Of course, we're not going to flesh out in this moment exactly what we're going to do, but what you are asking for is totally reasonable, totally makes sense, and is totally fair. Sidewalks, lighting, the issue, which I think is now a social epidemic in this community of street racing. It is causing so much damage. It's become a public nuisance to the point of being a danger to everybody in this community. I think we need to do something about it. What exactly that is right now, obviously we need the lawyers to look at, but I think we need to take aggressive action on the street racing issue. And as it pertains to the built environment and the needs of this community, I really want to work closely with you guys. Mike, you'll be amazed by these women, the network of mothers that are involved in this operation that crosses all lines culturally, jurisdictional lines. They live in different supervisorial districts. The way it came to my attention, Mike, was that a mother, another concerned mother who knows of these traumas, works at the prison with my aunt. And they started a conversation and said, my aunt then texted me and said, would you email this person? And the next thing you know, we have this network. I mean, your system that has gone incredibly viral.
My son went viral with this passing. Up to this day, I try to sit here and think, why? Like, he is very known all over social media. He gave me that attention, so I'm very known on social media. I have my YouTube channel that I did in memory of my son. I'm very known on TikTok. When I found out about her story, I did something on TikTok and went viral just to help out for her to get justice for Angel. And right now my thing is justice for Angel, justice for Angel. And I just went on my TikTok the other day to let my followers know we got justice for Angel. Either if it was with my help or without my help, but it was with the community help that we put it out there, and it went viral all over the world. And my son gave me that ability to be as strong as I am and use my social media to get me where I need to get. Unfortunately, it took me 3 years to finally get up here, but one step at a time. That's how I see it.
And we are very thankful for your guys' time and listening to
our
what we
story.
have to say, and even just giving us this time to think about like changes that should be made in that area.
Well, you're an incredible force for good. And it is really incredible what you're doing and how you're bringing people together. Supervisor Maggott and I, years ago, joined together with the city on a joint task force to look at pedestrian safety as it related to some of our disabled neighbors in this community that were having some challenges, some bus stations had been moved, and they just didn't make sense anymore, like to your point about there may be a crosswalk, but it doesn't necessarily make sense for how that population is circulating and moving there, and we have to retake a look at that built environment and see what it is that we can do. So part of today was to, really thank you for being so strong and being such a phenomenal mothers. And being connected to one another in something that unites us as a community, right? And has the ability to build strength and strengthen this community. I'm so grateful for our partners in law enforcement that work very closely with you, that prioritize your matter and put their resources on and said, we're gonna find this for Angel, we're going to find justice for him, and we're not gonna leave this hanging, and really, really shout out to them. Our brothers and sisters in law enforcement that care about this, and because of the attention and all of the energy, we're making movements on it. So Mike, I just want to, he's senior on this board, and would love to hear your thoughts about ways in which perhaps we can revive that together and do right by these moms. Mike is, numbers guy, a resource guy, knows a lot. And I think together, there's no better reason to come together. So Mike, I submit those thoughts to you. Thank you.
Supervisor Maggard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies, my heartfelt condolences to you on your loss. It's, I can't imagine a greater loss in life than losing your child, and I'm sorry to you both for that. It would be nice to be able to help other people as part of the legacy of the tragedy that you have had to endure. So, I'm very interested in partnering. This is the neighborhood I grew up in. It's not in the 3rd District anymore. It's in the 5th now, but I've been up and down Park Drive for thousands of times. Grew up south of Niles and north of Niles both. This is my neighborhood, so I'm intimately aware of each of the corners that you're talking about. And the same streets that I walked in the street when I was a boy, still you walk in the street. It's particularly on both the north and south side of Niles Street, and it is you're taking your life in your hands, even in a car, but let alone on foot or on a skateboard as you're going across there. There are numerous challenges in that part of the community, and Foothill has suffered a number of tragedies with students over the years. At the corner of Eucalyptus and Eucalyptus and Morning Drive, 184, that's a state highway. There were 3 young ladies involved in 2 different incidents as they walked across the street and were clipped by cars. Thank God in heaven they did not die. But they were just a breath away from being killed there. We changed the traffic control there with a big flashing light as students come to the corner. It trips a light, so the lights start flashing. Those are relatively inexpensive ways, I think, that Niles Street could be improved at each of those intersections. It isn't just Park, Morning Drive, and Fairfax. There's a few street, Valencia and whatnot, that are in there that cut across. So I think that's the first place to go look. There are less expensive ways than concrete, and I say less expensive because finding a less expensive alternative might help us do it faster. But I think there are less expensive ways to provide a pathway for young people and any pedestrian to walk outside of the street. I've done this before in other parts of my districts over the years where you use asphalt. It's just remnant asphalt from different projects that are going on, but slowly you build a patchwork of these. It's basically an asphalt sidewalk, and it doesn't last forever, but it is an immediate response, and that would be helpful, I think. I don't have an answer for the reckless behavior of drivers and the unconscionable people who would strike someone, particularly a child, and leave. I have no words to describe that behavior, and I don't know how to fix that, but I know how to fix some other things. Right. So yes, Supervisor Perez, let's talk about some alternatives and engage Public Works. And Niles Street is not a state highway, so we have much more control over it than we did 184, and I'm confident we can find some ways to help. And I appreciate you ladies using the tragedy of the loss of your sons as an opportunity for us to do something good.
Thank you.
Mike, thank you so much. You can hear from this board the interest and desire sincerely to take action, and you have made that happen. The way in which your sons lived, the way in which they loved, has inspired people around them to come here and do this. It's not a small deal. It's not a small deal. It's incredible legacy that they are living and that you are living out, you know. And that's something to feel good about, because it's what we have here in front of us, right? We cannot change the past. You know, we can change.
The present and the future.
Yes, we can, when we do this. So I want to thank you, and I want to ask our CAO, what do you think is the best route to move forward? I don't want to tie us up bureaucratically unnecessarily, but Mike and I do have a history of working with the city, and we don't need to do that necessarily, and I don't think we need to make any decisions today, but perhaps you can come back with a recommendation, Ryan, about how we can focus in on this area and build some momentum and frankly educate, right, about slowing down. Absolutely. Perhaps we partner with California Highway Patrol, or we look at some creative ways to bring in, a larger network of accountability so that people know that they're being watched and that there is going to be accountability and action. Ryan, your thoughts?
Well, just in general, through the chair, appreciate these mothers being here, and it just brings home the continuous work that we have to do to try and make the community as safe as it possibly can be, and that's particularly most important as it relates to kids and certainly around schools. But this is an ongoing exercise with the county, and as we go through that exercise in hardening infrastructure and addressing putting signage in where it's needed, or stoplights or crosswalks and things like that, that exercise evolves through unfortunately through incidents like this, testimony like this, and we continue to evolve and try to get better as we go along in figuring out where to prioritize our attention in a big county with lots of need. So I will just say that to your question, Supervisor, we will continue to focus on this. We will go back after the meeting, talk about this among our staff, and figure out some way that we can come back, not waste this time that has been spent by these two mothers coming here today, and trying to provide some sort of an effort to help address some of the things that they'd like to see addressed in these areas.
Thank you, Ryan. We talked a little bit about the fact that there are not unlimited resources. I know you know that. We all know that. We have limited pots of resources. And as you know, the squeaky wheel gets the oil, right? That's what you're doing here. You're coming here in their honor and in their legacy and saying, this is a real issue. And by your extensive network, it is so impressive. I mean, the amount of things that you can do and change in this community are limitless, right? Not limited to these areas, although this is our point in which we come together and we lock arms and say we're going to make it safer for kids in their memory and in this great legacy, right? But what you have done with the establishment of your network, I mean, that's the kind of thing politicians fear, right? I mean, it's the truth. And this is a good balance, right, for us to go, look, here's what the people are demanding of their government. And government, says, wow, there's so much momentum and energy and opportunity here that it makes sense, right, to focus our limited resources in an area that we know so much of the public is saying, we agree this is a problem. Let's put our resources there. We know they're limited. We know, this is an opportunity to act that has its finite reality, but we can act on it now. And that's what you're doing. I want to wish your son a beautiful, happy birthday. His legacy lives on, and he's changing the world.
He is.
Through you.
Yes.
So we'll be in touch with you, okay? Ryan, thank you, Mike.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the supervisors? Supervisor Couch?
Thank you. Well, if you don't mind, I'll wait till Mr. Turnipseed makes his comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Couch. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Michael Turnipseed representing the Kern County Taxpayers Association. It sometimes takes tragedy to start the discussion. Just last week at the city council meeting, they talked about pedestrian deaths, and they focused on Union Avenue and the 8 people that got in the last year that were killed on Union Avenue. They didn't discuss the 32 other pedestrians that were killed in the city of Bakersfield on city streets. And when you travel from city through the county islands and around, this might be an opportunity for a metro discussion on this issue, because whether it's bicycles or pedestrians, we have had serious problems with these things. And maybe you could reinstigate meetings with the city council quarterly on issues that affect the metro, or maybe CAO can meet with the city manager and figure out how you're going to do that. But this is a metro problem. It's not just the county. And when you bring up the ideas of the flashing sights and pushing the walkways, they kind of look like, I've seen them in other places. They work, they get your attention. But when you're driving around, you can't have different systems with different things that you don't recognize. So if you see it on this street and you see it on another street, a different one, it might register differently. So maybe you could agree on a citywide system to protect pedestrians and bikers. I think that would be a noble effort. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Turnipseed. Supervisor Couch.
Thank you. I would like to refer to our staff. I don't know what I need to do that. There are 2 Senate bills. One is 871 and one is 866. Both have to do with vaccinations, making them, I think, mandatory for kids. And I don't think those are good ideas. And I would like us to take a position in opposition to those. I don't know how the rest of the board feels about that. If you'd like to bring that back for a discussion, I think we have plenty of time. I don't think these will be heard until next month, somewhere towards the end in the legislature. But as I read these bills, they're nothing that I would like to support, and I think saying nothing about them is tacit support of that. So how do we go about that? Do I need to make a motion to that effect, or can I just ask you to bring back a discussion item where we might give you some direction?
Supervisor Couch, through the chair, I believe the latter is fine.
Okay, thank you.
And we will.
Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. The story we heard is so incredibly heartbreaking and tragic, but raising awareness is usually a critical catalyst for change. And I look forward to the collaboration between Supervisor Perez and Supervisor Maggard on this subject, as well as all of our other partners in the city and county jurisdiction. And absent any other comments from members of the board, that brings us to the conclusion of our agenda this morning. And we do have one item to consider in closed session under the County Administrative Office. And so at this point, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. We are adjourned.